Hello again! Welcome back, everybody! As usual, this is Becca going by Nightcat or Nightcat's Meow most places online, and this will be another week discussing Linden scripting language. So happy to have you back, all coder cats and coder kittens. So, first off, a bit of an announcement, and that is that I can tell you right now I am probably not going to get a video made for next week. The reason for this is I am going to be away at a con, and I have not managed to get ahead on making videos. I have not managed to have one sort of in store waiting to pull out and put up while I'm away. And this is going to have me pretty much, I'm going to be away from sometime on Thursday all the way through till sometime on Tuesday or when I come back. So, kind of I might be back on Monday, but I can't promise to be back before Tuesday. So unfortunately, that means that is a whole lot of time I could be making a video that I do not have available, and so many things to do. Extra laundry, which is a real pain in the rear when I have to go to a laundromat. Getting my hair touched up, all sorts of other fun things. Hey, purple like mine does not happen on its own. When they have a way that they can alter my DNA so that it grows purple straight out of my scalp, I'll be happy. Until then, I have to have it touched up. For those of you that haven't watched old videos, I have a couple of times put pictures of actual me in there, and yes, I do actually color my hair purple in the real world. It is true. So, moving forward from there, I did have a comment turn up on one of my older videos about nested if statements, which is basically where you have, if this is true, then do this, and inside that is another if statement. So just in case some of the rest of you had questions about that, I don't believe it would have much impact on lag if you do them properly, which is you use, let me call up a code window here. Which would be if you do if 1 equals 1, if 2 equals 1, it won't, but it's a good placeholder. That would be a nested if statement. All right, this is an example of if statements done properly. You have your first if statement. If that is true, because this one is an else, it means this one has to be false first. Otherwise, it will never run that. It will never do that check at all. In order to get to the third one, it has to see that this is false and this is false. Otherwise, it will never even check this one. But if both of those are false, it will run this one. In this case, if the first thing was true, it would then check to see if a second thing was true and run the code in here. This isn't necessarily laggier than doing them all separately. The real problem comes if you're going to have a lot of these, it gets to be harder to go back and read and edit it and make the changes you want. So it's still good coding practice to not nest them if you can get away with it. But it's not a matter of lag, it's a matter of making it easier to go back and examine the code and debug the code later. So hopefully that will address that. Unfortunately, I was running a little bit late starting recording today, so I didn't actually remember to look up your name to put in here so I credit who I'm talking to. My apologies, I usually try to do that. I will probably find it when I'm editing, so you'll probably see it on the screen crediting you with your question, but I was recording without looking it up, which is my failing, but I'm running short on time, so that said. Now, back to continuing with the logging of people visiting the sim. I had promised this week to go ahead and talk about monitoring how much memory is used by the script and how to send you an alert if you're not in sim periodically with the information. This will also give you a chance to clear out your records periodically. So, let's start with the more useful part of that, because tracking how much memory is used by the script is not something this is likely to need. It is very, very unlikely that you're going to need that for this. But, notification. There is actually a way with LSL to send an email through Second Life. And this is the actual code, the command. Whoops. I keep forgetting I can't right click and copy here. It sends an email address with a subject and message. Entire message, including the address, subject, and other miscellaneous fields, can't be longer than so many bytes combined. Okay, that is not likely to be of a concern. So, edit. We don't need that. That was just to explain the other question. So, the first thing you're going to want is to determine how often this message of yours is going to be sent out. Probably once a day is all you're really going to need. And that means going through and sending it by counting the minutes is a little bit cumbersome. So, let us look up quickly if there is a convenient way to check time. Get time returns a float that is the script time in seconds. It says script time matches normal time, unaffected by time dilation. That is not what we need. That is definitely not what we need. There we go. This is get wall clock returns a float that is the time in seconds is midnight Pacific time, truncated to whole seconds. Same as the time of day in SL time expressed as seconds. That is more what we need. Excellent. Excellent. So, and that is just a simple get wall clock. Okay. So, what we're going to do is, since we already have a regular timer that goes off periodically, we can just add a separate function in here for getting the actual time. So, let us add in, let's see, at the end of everything, time check. We're doing this as a refer to a global operation just because it keeps the code from getting too muddied down there. It means that we have this function that we're creating up here that it's much easier to go back and look at and work with this specifically. So, get wall clock. That did not recognize the command. What did I do wrong? That C is not capitalized. That right there is an example of one of the things that is really useful working with an actual compiler. I can tell you from experience, the first coding I tried to teach myself was actually JavaScript, and I failed miserably the first time I tried to teach myself that. One of the things that made learning Linden scripting language, or learning most programming languages that will have a compiler, much, much easier, is that any decent compiler or development environment will color code commands for you like this. So that means right there, that one little error of capitalizing the C when I didn't need to capitalize the C meant that it did not recognize it as a command. But if it didn't have the color change, I wouldn't have recognized that right away. I could have spent hours trying to figure out what's up with that. Why is that not working? But because of the color change, I was able to figure it out much, much faster. And what it is, the float is the time in seconds since midnight. Okay, so get wall clock. If get wall clock is less than, we're running on a 5-minute interval, so anything that's within that 5-minute period is golden. So a way to check that is going to be 5 times 60 seconds is actually, an easier way to do that is just to refer it back to your established minutes up here. Is greater than min times 60. So, since it's the number of seconds since midnight SL time, this means if it was within one cycle since midnight. So this will get you once every 24 hours, it will send out your command there. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to get the video properly rendered and edited if I actually waited until midnight to test that, but this should work perfectly. Normally, I try not to give you all shoulds, but in this case, I'm going to. A lot going on this week. Sorry. Deal. Wow, that sounds like really harsh on my part. I am not usually that bitchy. Another thing we're going to need to do is to go through and take all of the data that would be generated, and instead of having it output a bunch of different lines like we do right now, let me close that and open the chat window here. Instead of having all of these different lines of text, each one of these is a separate item. What we want to do is churn out a single compiled version, something that has specifically this last bit. Come back here. Specifically has this last bit down here. The one that takes the times for everybody, which evidently we've actually had quite a few people swing by that are not part of my test data, which is, I would never have known that without this. So we're going to take this and turn this part into a single large string. The way we're going to do that is we're going to establish string final, then records, owner say records. Okay there, sorry about that. Had to double check how I was handling parts of this. So getting back down to business. So what we're going to do, instead of an owner say here, we are going to change this to add to the string final. Change that to an if debug. Final equals final plus visitor visitor 1, well, or whatever number. Just copying over this last part here. And I do believe that was the... Actually, I'm not sure your email would accept the formatting of dropping that down a touch. So we are going to... There we go. Now this is just creating a message that will take all of that, put it in a final. We're going to view the final part at the conclusion of all of these. So this has to be in the else section. Let's have a look at what this final will look like. We have it set to speak that one out into the... Okay, aside from the fact that it printed it multiple times, that actually got it right. So, that just means that I pull this out of here, and then at the conclusion of all of that, in this case it simply runs out of things to report. You'll also want to make sure that final is cleared periodically. So if you do that before the initial, whoops, not rank list, that is not where we want that. That was dumb. You want that in the initial trigger of click. There we go, touch start. So, and in timer. So now the first thing that's going to happen if you either click it or if you run a time check is you will get the clear final. So if it is within the time period you're looking for, pulling the syntax for email, coupling, string address, string subject, and final. I believe this is because I forgot to quotation mark my email address. Yep, that is what that was. Alright, the simplest way I can do this is actually just go ahead and deal with getting a couple of layers of spam to test this. So, here we go. Now, Frap should continue recording my SL window, but I will go ahead and screen cap that and output it to you all, showing you the specific stuff that you need to see. It did, in fact, send me an email, exactly as I had anticipated. Now, the part where it monitors for memory, the only time that's really going to be necessary is if you have a very busy sim, or if you don't check this very often. So, get free memory. There we go. This will do. So what you will do is you'll have this run automatically whenever the script runs. So, time check over here. If get free memory is less than, we'll say, that's in kilobytes, was it? Number of free bytes. Okay. So, 5,000. So, a little over 4 kilobytes, because unfortunately 1,000 bytes was not perfectly translated to a kilobyte because computers are weird. There we go. The simplest way to do that is just get free memory is less than a certain specific amount you're comfortable with. This is, considering we're just dealing with lists, is a huge margin. Then it will email the admin, memory load issue, visitor tracker needs admin reset, the data is getting full. You can use this for anything that just records information in your SIM to send you an alert that tells you this is starting to get full, you need to deal with this. You can then use your email functions to set up forwarding if you have multiple administrators or if you have multiple addresses that need things worried about. You can even, if you're running a commercial SIM and it is very important you stay on top of these things, you can even set this to give you an alert that will, you can usually set your email address to forward a text message to your phone. That takes a little bit more futzing about. If people are really interested in how to do that, I will go over how to do it with Gmail. Because I actually do that for a certain email on my end. I don't particularly want to talk about why, because most of y'all are really good people, but I don't know who everybody who watches these videos are. And I don't want to give people the keys to cause my text messages to explode regularly with, any old random stuff. But I will go over the how to set that up for you all in a future video if it's something you all really want. So that should take care of this week's videos. I've shown you the correct commands for monitoring for memory, how to take the output of scanning your SIM and turn it into a single text string that can then be sent in an email. So I will go ahead and leave this running, and not next week, but the week after, when I get back, I can then show you some of those compiled ones. You probably are also good for using one more little command when you run that, the time check. You could add reset script. What that would do is it would purge your old data, it would clear everything out, it would restart it, it would make the odds of a memory overflow extremely slim, and you can just look at it day by day and see who your number one visitors are. So that should pretty much account for things. I thank all of you for coming by. If this was a little bit rushed or didn't have as many, concrete examples as you're used to, part of that is because we're setting up stuff with, long-running timers, like, daily, um, and resets involved. Though reset script is one I've used often enough that I can tell you that one you can be confident in. Since, with the exception of the test data I created specifically for demonstration purposes, all of the information is stored in lists in script memory. A reset will purge that. But putting it at the end of that set of instructions means it will not purge that until after it has already sent you the log. So that even a very busy SIM should not be able to fill up its entire available script memory with those logs in one day. So that should take care of that. If people in the Discord server tell me they want it, I will provide pictures from the convention I'm going to you all in the next video due, which will be week after next. So, as usual, thank all of you. Please like, comment, or subscribe. Please refer anybody that's trying to learn scripting over to my channel. Anything that you're not understanding well, please ask about in comments on the video or in the Discord channel. Anything that you want me to go over how to make, go ahead and put requests in either comments on the video or the Discord channel. Link to the Discord channel, as usual, will be in the description of the video. So I guess that is good day, good week, good luck, happy coding. Meow.